If you invested in Lego stock, you'd do better than if you had invested in gold. This is the focus group.
They're all business, except when they're not. It's the Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash.
Welcome to the Focus Group. John Nash with Tim Bennett. FocusGroupRadio.com is the destination for all things Focus Group, including information about our Tuesday podcast, TFG Unbuttoned. So this show is going to roll like this today. Tim and I bring some interesting articles to the table called Caught My Eye. We never pick the same thing. Actually, I think, Tim, we may have done it once. I think once or twice in the 13 years that we've done this, we had the same thing. And then we're going to visit with our friends at Deep Discount who bring us to you every week. A little small break, Business Birthday, the only show in the universe that does business birthdays. And then we have a shop talk about Lego and customer service. And I teased it by saying that they did a study recently that if you invested in Lego stock, you'd do better had you done that than investing in gold.
Really? I didn't see that.
And any kid would tell you that Lego's gold. So there you go, right?
Wow. I didn't see that piece.
And then, go ahead, Tim.
No, I've never been good at stock investing. I've never been able to play the stock market well.
Well, I'm not one either to do individual stocks. Although I will tell you that I've done well with Apple, and there's a couple others that I actually individually did well with. But buy what you know is what Warren Buffett used to say. But before we did the show today, we heard from our friend Lauren out at Deep Discount, and she's in the marketing department there, and she was wondering what we thought of this whole HBO Max reboot of the Sex and the City series. Tim, I keep forgetting the name of it again. What is it called again? And Just Like That. Right. Okay. So it's called And Just Like That. Well, the news was filled with information about episode 1, which had a major character pass away after they rode their Peloton bike. So before we came on the air, I said to Tim, this is what happens. You can't control product placement, right? If you give a studio or a creative group, do they have contracts like that with product placement, or are you just basically saying you could use the product?
Well, it depends. It depends how well it's written. It could be just we're going to use the product or we want to use the product in the show, or depending upon how it's going to be portrayed. In other words, if I know we used to do it with cars, if the car is going to be wrecked or not. You want to make sure that if it is going to be wrecked in a chase scene, that it's not going to show the car going out of control and being wrecked, that it may be something else. But it all depends. And so this may have just been, we're going to use a Peloton bike, and they had no idea that somebody would die on the bike. I think they tried to then in the script, tried to fix it, where they said that...
he died afterwards. It was a heart... Because this character had a heart condition from the show Sex and the City a long time ago. And then I think Peloton's actually jumped on the bandwagon, and they've done kind of a viral spot to kind of push back against, no, you're not going to die if you use our equipment, but unintended consequence, right?
I know that show was popular. I never watched one episode.
Are you serious?
Sex and the City.
You escaped any Sex and the City?
Okay. I never watched it, but I'm not a TV guy. I know you think I'm crazy. I didn't watch over the weekend.
Yeah.
I watched zero TV. I listened to music.
But
we don't watch TV. I should get rid of the cable. I don't watch TV.
Well, you kind of do and you don't. Like, remember, didn't you go down the rabbit hole with Breaking Bad?
I did. But I did that. But, 5, 10, 15 years too late?
Well, yeah, but it's still on TV. I mean, we are avid.
You and Bob watch TV every night, don't you?
Yeah, but we're pretty selective. It's like right now we're finishing up the new season of Lost in Space. It's a movie. Sometimes it's a movie. The Green Knight is one that I have on my that just arrived that I want to watch. I'm getting some stuff from Deep Discount actually when it arrives. I can't wait to pop it in the player and watch that. But I'm actually rethinking some of our subscriptions. The Hulu and all that stuff because we just don't really use it that much. And hey, but speaking of subscriptions, Paramount Plus is where the movie that I'm in called Coded. So if you want to watch Coded, great documentary about the artist J.C. Leyendecker, men's fashion illustrator, mentor and peer to Norman Rockwell. I was a talking head. I have a little bit of screen time where I talk about Subaru advertising, actually. But it's a really good movie. It won a lot of awards, and it may be on the way to the Oscars for Best Short Film. But that's on Paramount Plus. But speaking of Paramount Plus, as a platform, it's very hard to navigate. And, you know, Paramount Plus's big thing is they have all the Star Trek collections, but you can't search by Star Trek. You have to, so anyway, TV is not what it used to be. Remember in the good old days, it was click, click, click. That's it. 3 networks. What's on? Right?
I like Amazon Prime and of the streaming services. I have Hulu too, which pops up now and then. But did I tell you about that mushroom movie on Netflix?
Oh, wait a minute.
Fungi.
Fabulous fungi or something, and it's about psilocybin and about all the reasons. My sister turned me onto it. I loved it. Did you like the documentary?
Yeah. I've been taking this lion's mane now, mushroom extract.
And what does it do?
I'm thinking it's going to grow my leg back.
Okay.
Well, they did all this study about how it grows nerves back. I wish I'd known when I had the operation. They damaged my nerves and my leg. But
so see, you're way ahead of me, and I should call my sister because Laura made me watch. She didn't make me watch it, but she said you're going to really enjoy it. We watched it. We were fascinated by it. Here again, something that is naturally occurring in the environment. You know, mushrooms and fungi, and the government squashes it because of the psychedelic side of it, much like cannabis. But then we discover there's all these medicinal things, and so you saw the scene where the guy that the guy that's really pushing this, his mom had a really bad cancer diagnosis. He put her on psilocybin and improved her mood. She actually beat it, right? I think she's in remission right now. Not that it cured it, but he's saying that it helped her get through all the chemotherapy and stuff like that. So
no, she has no cancer.
Now she doesn't. No.
It was turkey something was the mushroom. But they had said had the Nixon administration or some of the earlier administrations that had outlawed the mushrooms because ancient cultures had used mushrooms forever.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that's how the Neanderthals, I think, evolved so quickly was they ate mushrooms. But they said had we done more research because they're using it for PSD and for a lot of people with ADHD now and depression, that we'd be much further ahead with studies had we not put the stink on them
of a level class 1 or whatever they do. So how did you find the extract that you're using?
So as I was watching the documentary, they had talked about how the Japanese were using this for people with nerve damage and bad inflammation. And so I have that neuropathy and the nerve damage from my back surgery. And they kept telling me I wasn't going to ever have use of, feeling or moving of my foot again. But they said that this lion's mane, the Japanese have found that it does help heal nerves. And so I thought, well, it's worth a try. I mean, nothing else. Everybody else says nothing's going to work.
And is it a drop or is it it's an
You could take it different ways. You could take it as a drop. You could take it as an actual mushroom. Or I actually found the company out of Washington State that produces this in a powder form in a capsule. And I bought it at a health food store here in the Rehoboth Beach. And it's not cheap. It's like $30 for a month's worth, I guess, $1 a day. And I started taking it. Now, I thought, maybe it's my imagination, it actually has helped, I think, a little bit with my neuropathy. But they said, and I was reading these studies, they don't have anything that's quote unquote.
Yeah, I know.
But they said that it repairs about an inch. They were talking about how long it takes for some of these, how long it would take for it to repair if it was going to repair. And it was about an inch a month or something. I forget. I'm making it up at this point. But that it would take a while if it was going to help you. So I thought I would try it for 6 months and see if see what it does. What's the harm? Nothing else. Everybody told me nothing's going to help me.
Precisely.
But if this helped me, I was fascinated by the whole thing. I couldn't believe it.
I can't believe I didn't watch the documentary when it first came out. And my sister works at the Adventist Medical Group down in Maryland, and she's at one of their main oncology and cancer centers, and they are in fact one of the centers that are studying psilocybin. And she thinks it's just a miracle, this fungi stuff. So yeah, keep me posted on that. I agree with you. When Western medicine doesn't have an answer for you, what's the harm of an extract from a mushroom? I mean, it grows naturally, right? Yeah. So I think that's really cool. All right. So without further ado, Mr. Bennett, what caught your eye?
What caught your eye? Here's what Tim and John found.
I put my glasses on.
I'm watching you trying to take those
Not
off
gonna
first. Yeah, and then put them on.
I could probably do this story without the headphones. As I move this here to get here. These little wireframes are tough to put on. They're a lot more flimsy than the other ones.
Oh, and don't sit on them. But anyway, that's another matter entirely.
No. Well, particularly these, they cost them a darn money. So this little story, actually, this came from our friend Brian Roman at AdMark 360.
Okay.
I'll just read you the headline. Bomb squad called to hospital after World War II mortar shell removed from man's rectum.
When you sent me the picture of this to set up the pre-production and the headline, that's all I see, folks. I see the picture and the headline. Now, is that the mortar they removed? I mean, or is that just a...
Yeah, so it's...
Oh, my God. Okay.
I can't make it up myself, so I'll just read you it's a short story. The phrase shell-shocked took on a new meaning last week when a man in Gloucester, England, managed to lodge a 2-inch wide World War II anti-tank shell inside his rectum. The rectum's owner, who understandably chose to remain anonymous, told the medical staff at the Gloucestershire Royal Hospital that the 57-millimeter round was part of his World War II memorabilia collection, and it became embedded in his anus after he slipped and fell, as one is known to do in England, I suppose. So he slipped and fell, and it went right up his butt. The bomb squad was then called and dispatched. They were afraid it might go off, blow up the hospital, blow up all the people around. The physicians, though, worked on him before the bomb squad got there, and they were able to get the explosive out of his butt before the disposal team arrived. And so the news had found out about this, and some of the military people, they had called the Ministry of Defense, and all the Ministry of Defense said is that, in fact, that they were called to the hospital about some sort of armament, ordnance that was found, and that's all they would say. They said, as is with any incident involving munitions, they had to follow safety protocol. They had to evacuate the hospital and staff and visitors at the time for fear of explosion. The doctor said it was basically an inert lump of metal. There was really no risk to life, said one spokesperson to the newspaper. The round was no longer active. He was in a considerable amount of pain.
I would think so. I would think so.
They said he's expected to make a full recovery, and they said this is just a multitude of rectal issues that seem to come in and that they encounter on a yearly basis. They said the range of objects that people put in their rectums range anywhere from wine glasses to ketchup bottles and parts of Hoover vacuums. Sadly, this is an everyday occurrence, but they've never heard of the bomb head or a bomb head ever been placed in the rectum before. Of course, he says he slipped and fell, and so they were called before. So attached to this story, my friend Chris used to work in the emergency room in Philadelphia, and there was a guy who had one of those trophies, one of those like track trophies, with the arms.
Yep.
He said the same thing. He was dusting.
I remember that story, Tim, and I remember when he was. The phrase was, "I was dusting," and
he was dusting. He worked in the ER. Chris said he had about a gallon of Vaseline on his ass. He goes, "Do you dust with Vaseline on your ass?" Anyway, he was dusting, and this trophy, one of those trophies with the
guy was
the Greek guy with the arms, the runner with his hands in the air was up his butt. The trophy. Anyway, so I looked. They have this every year. The U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission has a database of emergency room visits of things that people have put in different orifices, and they have all these things verbatim. So they talked last year, I guess during the pandemic, was quite a year. So ears are a big thing. People put things in their ears. Dog tooths were popular. Can you imagine put a dog tooth in your ear?
No.
Earbuds. People are losing earbuds in their ears.
That's a hard one, but okay.
One guy said he had one in put his snowmobile helmet on, and he hit the water, and the helmet pushed the earbuds in his ears, and he had to go to the hospital and have them pull the earbuds out.
Ouch. Okay.
Now, the nose is another one. Somebody had a toy car tire up his nose, a mini flashlight, mini bowling pin, a pom-pom. Now, I don't know if that was the pom-pom candy or a pom-pom, yay, rah-rah. A googly eye, which I put in there because of you and Bob.
I love googly eyes, yeah.
2 batteries, In the throat, someone had a cat toy, metal pipe, sewing needle, a small American flag. In the penis, someone had a balloon. Someone said, I love this one. This was a verbatim. Someone said, he was in the ER. He says, I was playing with my iPhone. I fell asleep. And when I woke up, the stylus was in my urethra. Was in there for 4 days. He decided to go seek treatment. He fell asleep. It just fell in. Where he takes a wee-wee.
He lives next to the guy that was dusting.
Dusting. Another person had marbles in his unit. For the past 4 years, he decided it was time to get them removed.
Wow.
In the woman's hooch, one woman said she was intoxicated 4 months ago and put crumbled up aluminum foil in there. She decided she had to go in and get it taken out. Another woman had a slinky up there.
Hell of a wonderful toy. It's fun for a girl and a boy.
Yeah, so the pandemic has been something. So in the rectum last year, the most popular thing was a bouncy ball.
Okay.
Someone put a pencil up there, and they said they weren't able to sit. They'd come in, wandered into the ER. Another patient reported inserting a deodorant spray can inside there because they were constipated. That seems to be the big issue. People say they put things in there because they were constipated. Shampoo bottles, very popular. Wow. Placed in there because of constipation. A small foam football. Screwdrivers. One guy's the handle fell off. This one reminded me of your friend Frankie. Some guy said he was intoxicated. Oh, no. I'm going to... One woman came into the ER, and she was intoxicated, and she was uncertain where her anal beads were.
Ooh, okay.
And she couldn't find them. So she thought she might have put them in and lost them. But they gave a very thorough examination. They weren't there. So they said, you better go home and look. They're not here. A plastic turtle. Someone said he was squatting in the shower. Again, squatting in the shower fell. Something went up there. The remote control. Somebody said he was drunk for 3 years, has a light bulb. That one, I never understood light bulbs.
Okay.
Foam darts. This one, 3 things were up there. It must have been a party. A foam dart, 6 magic markers, and Christmas lights.
Okay. Yeah.
That must have been a party. 1,
yeah.
2. And then the final one, this reminded me of your friend Frankie across the street. He went into the doctor. The doctor said, what happened here? He said, I put a dildo in my rectum 2 days ago. I was out on my riding lawnmower doing some yard work, and it slid all the way in. I can't get it out.
And right, that's the guy that used to live across the street from us upstate. You know, John, I put a butt plug in, and I'll sit on my bike, and I'll ride around looking for the biggest bumps and chat 'em.
So have a holly jolly Christmas.
Wow.
Anyway, be careful when you're dusting or slipping or walking in England.
Or showering. just showering or walking or dusting.
Falling asleep, things just happen to go into holes.
All these different things.
Well,
mine is an unusual one. It's perhaps not appropriate for the season, given how people feel this time of year. But headline simply reads that Switzerland approves this thing. It's called the Sarco Assisted Suicide Pod. So assisted suicide services have always been controversial, but some countries approve of such life-ending services for certain patients, namely terminally ill patients. They're aware, they know the end's close. And Switzerland's one of those countries. So in Switzerland, I didn't know this, 1,300 people died in 2020 by assisted suicide. The procedure involves some medication. Obviously, there's a doctor present. There's a lot of questions that are asked. Everybody's informed. Supposedly it's a very beautiful thing. It's a very carefully done thing. It's not something that people do lightly. But here's what this thing looks like. It looks like something out of Star Trek.
Oh, it's like a bumper car or something.
So a company called Exit International. You know, Tim, if we were on a naming committee, right, like how they created this Sarco machine that serves the same purpose as if you went into a clinic and had all this other stuff, you know, the doctors and the medication. The 3D printed suicide pod, I love the way the writer does that, does not require the use of drugs. It relies on a mechanism that simply reduces the oxygen levels in the air, which ultimately leads to unconsciousness, and then, of course, the person passes. Switzerland approved of this device, and in the future it will be something they'll be offering people at a clinic, for instance. It works like this. So you get in the pod, the pod closes. They push a button. So you have to be the one that pushes the button. Once that happens, nitrogen will flood the pod, reducing the oxygen to just 1%. So we humans have to have an air mixture that has 21% oxygen. The concentration reduction occurs in 30 seconds. So what that means is that introduction of nitrogen will make the person feel disoriented and euphoric, or one or two, before they quickly lose consciousness, and then death occurs about 5 to 10 minutes later as the body slowly doesn't have the oxygen it needs to survive. But they're peaceful, they're at rest, they're unconscious, and it's a different passing than if they had just taken drugs or something. So Exit International wants to make a few adjustments to their prototype. They think they want to put a screen in there so you could say goodbye to your loved ones and the door closes before you push the button. I'm not so sure about that little adjustment, and a microphone or something so you could say hello to people and as the pod closes. But if you're standing in front of this thing to begin with, if you happen to be watching YouTube, it looks like a cryopod or something out of a science fiction movie, you know, where astronauts are frozen and sent into deep space or something. I'm not sure that if you saw someone get into one, you'd want to like have a conversation with them, right? Like,
no, or those little cars people drive around. Almost looks like a smart car. What I'm wondering, two things. Did they say how much it costs?
No, they did not. They did not. You mean the
and
pod?
I wonder
or
if how much does it cost to kill yourself? And then what is it? I wonder if they bury you in this, or is it reusable?
No, it's reusable.
I don't want that. I don't want to die where somebody else did. Do you? It's like using a coffin.
Oh my God, Tim, I never thought about that. I didn't think about it. You know, and I wonder if that's the reason they say that it's 3D printed. You know, so I wonder if it is a one-off. If they create one, right? Wow.
There's that little thing they do with the ball where they ball you up like a piece in a burlap, and then they plant a tree.
Well, you know, they did that on the show 6 Feet Under.
Did they?
That was like a natural. They wrap you in like something that biodegrades, and there's special areas designated for, you know, like an organic burial or something. Yeah, is that what you're talking about? Where it's
they can cut you up in pieces, put you on a rock like the Japanese do. Birds take you away.
Wait. I have never heard of that before.
You never heard of that?
No, they put you on a rock. The bird. Well, you know, we all are stardust. So.
Cut you up in little pieces. The birds take you away, plant you around. You know, they eat you, poop you out, boom, reincarnation.
Dun.
Spread you around.
Coming to you from the Winter White House in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. The birds can do that.
I won't spend another winter in a summer town.
Yeah. So wrapping up this Sarco thing, there are only 2 prototypes that exist right now. There's a third in development. One of them is on display in a museum already, in the Museum of Culture and Museum for Sepulchral Culture in Kassel, Germany. The second isn't aesthetically pleasing, so they're making some changes so the exterior looks probably more like that artist's rendition.
So I guess it's like our Hemlock Society, right, that we have here in the U.S. So it's just not. I guess it's not necessarily sanctioned. Right, the Hemlock Society.
Hemlock's not, but in Switzerland it is legal. It's not a simple process, by the way. If you've ever researched it or read about it in any article, it's not simple. You have to have a very clear-cut reason why you want to do it. It has to be approved by a doctor. The family has to be on board. You have to be of sound mind. You have to know what you're talking about. It would be like, I can see many instances where someone might want this if their quality of life has been so dented or changed by an accident or by severe illness.
Or if you said you had dementia and you were no longer able to care for yourself, that, I want to have this assisted suicide thing.
I want to know how it happens, yeah. So between the mortar shell and, don't dust and shower, you might get something in an orifice, and the suicide pod. So
wow.
Never a dull day here on the focus group, right? I tell you. All right. So as many of you know, Deep Discount is a partner of ours here on the focus group, and we would love you to shop with them by visiting our site, focusgroupradio.com, and clicking on the Deep Discount logo. As we careen, there's a word I love using, as we careen towards that magical December 24th, 25th, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, time to get your gifts in. This is an excellent place to go and do it. Deep Discount has so many different things. And I'm looking at the homepage right now, Tim, and, there is something I would spend money on. And I'm looking at this arcade table.
A Ms. Pac?
Yeah, you remember? Did you when we were in college? I remember going to some of the arcades had those tables, right?
Yes, yes. How much is that? Is that for sale?
I believe it is. I'm clicking on it and seeing. Well, there's a stand-up arcade in a cabinet there. That's for Midway Legacy.
They threw one away at the boathouse. I was mad. Richard wouldn't let me have it.
It says $349.
Yeah.
And here's one for Atari. Yeah, okay, that's $349.
They had a Miss Pac-Man at the boathouse, and they threw it away, put it out in the street. Nobody wanted it. I wanted it. I wasn't allowed to have it. Of course, I can't even. I don't even have a desk here.
Miss Pac-Man is $5.99. The table.
Where would you and Bob put that? I guess it could be your dining table.
Well, in both our homes, we have limited space, which I'm fine with. But this is just one of those things where I remember playing the sit-down version, the table version, and I used to like it because you could really, I don't know. And it was Ms. Pac-Man was the one that was always the table version, not the original.
I never got that far, though. I always got to like the third level. How far did you ever get?
Oh,
I never really got that far.
My game was Defender, and if you wanted to see someone play a video game, watch my old business partner Greg play Defender. Oh my God, because we went to college together. I didn't get really far in Pac-Man. I got eaten up. I wasn't fast enough.
No.
They ate my quarters. That's about all it did. So, what did you pick this week?
So I had picked. I was poking around, and I just said earlier I didn't watch TV, but I do watch TV.
A certain kind of TV.
But I think for the first time in my life, everybody always says I Love Lucy's on. Now it's not on here in Slower, Delaware anymore. It used to be on the Hallmark Channel. It's off because they're doing Christmas all the time, which drives me crazy. They start in October. And so I Love Lucy's not on. I can't find it anywhere. I guess you could find it on a streaming service.
Guess who has it? I discovered it on Paramount Plus. Apparently, that's the CBS Viacom, and I think CBS had the rights, right? So they have the entire Lucy, except when you go to Lucy on Paramount Plus, the first episode's missing. In fact, I think the first 2 or 3, it starts like with 4 or 5. You're like, whoa, what happened to 1, 2, 3? So I don't know about
Amazon
that.
Amazon Prime has it too, I believe.
Okay.
But so you can get the whole series at there's a great deal, but it's on back order, so I didn't recommend it. But the whole series is available if you want to get
DVD,
on the waiting list for a great price at deep discount. But then this popped up next to it, I Love Lucy Colorized Collection. Now, we all know they were done in black and white. I've seen a couple of them colorized. There was the Christmas show that they did. And then they did 1 or 2 of them, but this is new to me. This was released in 2019. And it's a 2-pack set. It's you have 2 options. It comes DVD or Blu-ray, and this one's under $20 as a DVD. You can spend a little more money and get one that comes with a magnet and some additional content. But this has a bunch of shows which I would find pretty interesting to see in color, because I always was fascinated when I actually went out to the studio in LA to see what the color of the furniture was in the apartment. I didn't realize they had an orange sofa, for instance, or there was some orange colors in the furniture and greens. But so the shows that are listed here that they've colorized are Pioneering Women. Lucy Does a TV Commercial. That was a famous one with
Vita Vita Vegemin.
Right, job switching when they worked in the candy factory. The $1 Million Idea was the salad dressing bonus bucks. LA at Last. Lucy Gets Into Pictures, which I love. The Fashion Show. The Dancing Star. Harpo Marx. Lucy Visits Gromans, Lucy and John Wayne, Lucy Goes to Scotland, which may be my least favorite episode ever.
I agree.
Of I Love Lucy.
I agree.
I never understood it.
Yeah.
Lucy's Italian Movie, and then The Christmas Show and Lucy and Superman. So all of those are available colorized, which I would find pretty interesting to see.
And I'm going to add to this. If you're a fan of I Love Lucy and Ricky and the whole Desilu story, The Plot Thickens is a podcast that Turner Classic Movies does, and this 3rd season, we're at the end of it almost, is about Lucille Ball. It's amazing. She talk about a life of challenge and adversity, and how she got to where she was and what she did and how smart she was doing it, and her lifelong love affair with Desi Arnaz. And even she loved him even afterwards. I mean, so there's a whole thing about Lucy, and so I'm glad you picked the colorized collection, and I'd like to see it in color myself. I went in an interesting direction. I shopped the Criterion collection. One of my favorite collections is Criterion because of all the incredible movies they bring back to life on restored prints and audio and all the commentary. Do you remember when we were kids that did you ever saw a movie called Paddle to the Sea?
I did not.
Paddle to the Sea is this story. It's based on a book. It's an award-winning children's book, and the film follows the adventures of a tiny wood-carved canoe as it forges its own path from Lake Superior through the Great Lakes and down to the Atlantic Ocean. So basically, this little child's toy is put in the water, and the camera just kind of, and the book does too, follows this little wooden Indian in the canoe all the way down to where the river lets out into the Atlantic. And I just remember the movie very well. So I saw this. I thought, oh, this would be a kind of a fun one to get. And it's only $11.23 at deep discount. So
no, interestingly, I wanted to say something to you. We had a listener contact me. I don't know if they contacted you about Criterion.
What did they say?
Well, we both love Criterion, and they said we recommend Criterion a lot. They had purchased some Criterion things, and they've been disappointed. They said that they cut out content. I have not, and I said I was unaware of that. They said that there were some movies that they've got where content's been actually cut out that they thought was important for movies.
That's unusual, isn't it?
Yeah,
because I thought
should
it
have
was
them call in.
Yeah, I would. It's because I'm pretty sure it's always the theatrical cut. Wow. Well, okay. So anyway, we still like the Criterion Collection, and the release this week is a movie that I've not seen. This is one of the superhero bunch. It's called Venom: Let There Be Carnage. I think the cover here says it all. There's like this alien thing with a tongue coming out. But Venom, these movies do really well at the box office. Tom Hardy's in it, and he ends up sharing a body with an alien, a symbiosis thing, and does all this stuff. So I haven't seen it myself, but if you are a fan of this, Marvel / this universe, Venom: Let There Be Carnage is the release of the week.
Marvel seems to be taking over, aren't they?
Oh my God, they have. Yeah, it's huge. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is enormous. So, yeah.
So head over to focusgroupradio.com, click on the deep discount logo, start shopping away. I picked I Love Lucy, the colorized versions of a number of the classic shows. John picked Paddle to the Sea, which sounds interesting. It almost sounds like something they would do now with like one of the Little Rubber Ducks.
Exactly, yeah.
And the new release this week is Venom: Let There Be Carnage. And so you'll find all of that there at deep discount. And as John says, if you buy anything, please let us know. And we'll get a pair of Focus Group Radio socks out to you.
Yeah, well, send us a picture of what you bought with a packing slip and send your address to letters@focusgroupradio.com, and you'll get yourself a pair of Focus Group Radio socks. Many people have already taken advantage.
In purple.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we've got we have a business birthday and some shop talk, so stay with us.
You're listening to The Focus Group with Tim and John. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com. Now back to The Focus Group with Tim and John. Available pretty much everywhere.
All right, welcome back to the Focus Group. Tim Bennett and John Nash, focusgroupradio.com. Ta-da! That's all I need to know. So without further ado, Mr. Bennett, who's our business birthday today?
Everyone does celebrity birthday greetings, but the Focus Group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
So today we have born December 15th, 1921, Albert James Allen Freed. And was born December 15th, 1921. He died at the early age of 43 years old, January 20th, 1965. He was an American disc jockey. He also produced and promoted large traveling concerts with various acts, helping to spread the importance of rock and roll music throughout North America. And in 1986, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. His role breaking down racial barriers in U.S. pop culture in the 50s is really what his contribution was. He led white and black kids to listen to the same music, and he was really the person who really made rock and roll popular. So they said the rock and roll name was obscure, And he had said that he became internationally known for promoting African American rhythm and blues music on the radio in the United States and Europe under the name of rock and roll. He was born in Pennsylvania, moved to Ohio, went to Ohio State, wanted to be in a band, went off to war, and ended up working for a number of radio stations. And he liked the music, which we now know as rock and roll, but said it all had its roots. He felt all had its roots in folk, rhythm, and blues, and what at the time they called black or African American music. And so he had said he someone had said to him initially that they thought the name rock and roll came from something related to sexual intercourse, which he said that was not the case.
That's so weird. That's like the story of the guy dust thinking. Anyway.
Yeah, they said that they thought so. A lot of people were critical of him, saying that rock and roll was a euphemism for sexual intercourse. There was a song called "60 Minute Man," and it said, "I rock 'em, I roll 'em all night long." However, Fried said that was not where it had come from. He said rock and roll is really swing with a modern name. It began on the levees and plantations, took in folk songs, and features blues and rhythms. He helped bridge the gap of segregation among young white teenage Americans, presenting music by black artists rather than cover versions by white artists on his radio programs. He arranged live concerts attended by racially mixed audiences. He also appeared in a number of motion pictures as himself in the 50s. He Interestingly, he said that as a pioneer, he was given a TV show. He was given a weekly primetime TV series. This was before or around the time Dick Clark.
Bandstand, right?
Right. The TV series was called The Big Beat, which premiered on ABC on July 12, 1957. The show was scheduled for a summer run with the understanding that if it was good enough and had enough viewers, it would continue in the 1957-58 television series. The ratings were very strong, but the show was suddenly terminated. So what happened is, according to the Wall Street Journal, which summarized the ending of the program, they said 4 episodes into The Big Beat, Fried's primetime TV music series on ABC, an uproar was caused when African-American artist Frankie Lyman was seen on TV dancing with a white audience member. 2 more episodes were aired, and the show was suddenly canceled. Sources indicate the cancellation was triggered by an uproar among the local ABC's affiliates in the South by showing an African-American man or black man dancing with a white person.
Of course, we're looking at it from 2022 backwards, but
it hasn't changed.
Well, part of me wanted to say that as well. What a young age, though. Did I miss that? Did you talk about his cause of death yet?
So what happened? So he really did push racial barriers, and he suffered for it. So and particularly this one incident where he got kicked off the air. They told him he wasn't allowed to, do those sort of things. He was pushing the envelope, and it was not acceptable. Blah blah blah. And so he was unemployable, and he wouldn't sign contracts that said he wasn't going to do this. And he got in lots of legal trouble, and he just kept getting pushed to smaller and smaller markets. And then he got into controversy. He was in a Boston market, and he got involved in a payola scam, which was essentially record companies would say, "You play my record, I'll give you a kickback."
Yep. Payola
happens all the time, right? It's no different than a pharmaceutical rep going to the doctor's office. Prescribe my cholesterol drug, right? So anyway, he got involved in this payola scam. He ended up finally pleading guilty to that. He was fined $300. Said that he did that. He ended up also the IRS and the FBI was going after him. Jeez. They said he didn't have enough money to. They wanted $38,000 from him from some royalties on things.
And you're talking 1950 something. Which means
1960, 58, 60s.
Would have been just a lot more money in today's dollars, yeah.
Right. So he went to Miami to work at a station. They refused to allow him to promote rock and roll. They refused to allow him to do his stage shows. So after he moved from Miami, he went to Los Angeles, and he did a small stint there. He went from Los Angeles to Palm Springs, And at that point, he had just had it, and he just drank himself to death.
Oh my
Alcoholism.
God.
At 43. So they said prior to his death, the FBI continued to harass him and maintain that he owed them money for tax evasion. He didn't have the means to pay it. He was interred at a cemetery in New York, and then his daughter-in-law ended up putting his ashes at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. In 2014, they wanted him removed from the Hall of Fame, so they took him out of the Hall of Fame and they buried him in Cleveland in a cemetery plot with a stone shaped in the shape of a jukebox. And but people did say, one source said that no man has more influence on the coming culture of our society in such a short period of time as Alan Freed, the real king of rock and roll. Another source summarized his contributions as follows. Alan Freed secured a place in American music history as the first important rock and roll disc jockey. His ability to tap into and promote the emerging black musical styles of the 50s to a white mainstream audience is seen as a vital step in rock's increasing dominance over American culture. So he never really got credit, but he pushed the envelope and he paid for it. But I thought he was an interesting person because of what he did. But even the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, nobody wanted anything to do with him because he pushed racial barriers, and he called rock and roll what it was. A lot of people don't want to admit that rock and roll came from a lot of its roots is with black music and black culture.
Wow. So he was railroaded into this, his career sidelined, harassed, railroaded, and until he's like, well, what's the point? And he drinks himself. It's a great business birthday, by the way, and he deserves more recognition. And when I saw, the reason I was curious when I was setting up the graphics and I saw how young he was,
right.
I'm like, well, this is 43 is super unusual. I mean, that's usually something like a bad accident or a medical issue that pops up. But wow, all right, well, good business birthday.
There's been lots of things mentioned in pop culture about him. I think he'd be one of these. There's a lot of times we go through these business birthdays, and I think there'd be some great people that would be great biographies done or great movies that would be done about them. I find them interesting.
To expose, to let people know they existed and what they did and the great change they made, yeah. All right, switching gears a little bit, we have a shop talk for you folks. It's really about customer service more than anything else. At the top of the show, I mentioned a study recently done by, I think it was Business Insider, that if you invested in Lego stock, I think maybe 10 or 15 years ago, you'd actually make more money than it had you invested in gold. And because Lego as a toy, as a cultural icon, is just a powerhouse. One of the reasons why they're so good at what they do is their customer service. And this article came to us from Fast Company. And the headline reads, a customer discovered their $350 Lego set was missing pieces. The company's response was brilliant. So this guy named John, whose real name is John, it's a Lego fan. It's not me, by the way, but he is a Star Wars fan, too. He bought a set called the Mos Eisley Cantina set at Target. It's not an easy set to get, and it certainly isn't easy to put together because it has over 3,000 pieces and will set you back about $350. The book of instructions is more than 400 pages long, so clearly you're buying something, that's complex here. So he's putting it together, and hours into it, he realizes he's missing some of the pieces, and in fact, he's missing a whole bag. They're all numbered too when you get one of these sets. So he decides he's going to contact customer service. He's not going to return the kit because it's 3/4 of the way built. He'd have to disassemble it and take it to Target to do this. So instead, he calls he reaches out to customer service, which many of us, especially via email, are loath to do because I often wonder if it's just going into like a big hopper and no one's going to answer it. The answer that came, though, is interesting. So he gets a note back, and it says, Dear John, thanks for getting in touch with us and providing that information. I am so sorry that you are missing bag 14 from your Mos Eisley Cantina. This must be the work of Lord Vader. Fear not, for I have hired Han to get that bag right out to you. Have a bricktastic day, and may the Force be with you. Now, the author of this piece cites this as amazing customer service. Why? Because the customer service rep who intercepted his email was smart enough and funny enough to actually reference Star Wars. Oh, it's Darth Vader's fault. He got the Dark Lord of the Sith got involved, and we're gonna have Han Solo and the Millennium Falcon get you that bag. And so he says the author doesn't know if people are trained to do this or not, but he said this is the difference between a company being thought of as good or a company being thought of as great. And I would call it that kind of emotional intelligence that the customer service rep. Are we on the same wavelength there?
Yeah. Well, how did you find the story? Because you get stories on Star Wars, or did you just fall over this?
I fell over this because it was Fast Company. Yeah.
Yeah, it's well, it's one of those surprise and delight things, which my guess is Lego probably hires smarter than the average bear people that are working customer service. And so somebody that was working that probably was, hey, if you and I were both working customer service at Lego, and that came into me and said, "Oh gosh, somebody lost this thing. I know nothing about Star Wars," but I would immediately say, "John, how would I answer this?" And you would have answered the same way.
Probably, yeah. So you would have turned
Yeah,
in your chair and said, "Hey Nash, I got this guy. He needs
yeah,
Moss Isley sets missing bricks. Oh, it's probably Darth Vader's fault. Send on him with a
yeah.
bag."
But that's
So
what you would do, right? If you were smart, that's what you would do. And so I think it's that whole surprise and delight. So it's just so kudos to Lego.
Tim just
For,
brought up something that I think is critical about customer service and customer care and brands in general. A brand wants to surprise and delight, and when it does it in the service area, it really, really makes you a customer for life. I'll give you another example. I was visiting my mom and her husband a while back, and Jim had these energy bars, like protein bars, and they're called Garuka bars, GARUKABARS, Garuka bars. They're made in Vermont, small company. There's only a few ingredients. It's honey, peanut butter, brown rice crisps, cranberries, and whole peanuts. Straightforward. It's great energy. So I fell in love with this bar, and I use it on my bike now and stuff. Well, I ran out. Jim sent me a box as a kind of an introductory gift. So I ordered some recently, and the owner of the company, I got an email, and he said, "Hey, how did you find out about us?" And I sent a note back, and I said, "My mom's husband turned me on to the Garuka bar. I use it for cycling. It never bothers my stomach." You know how these bars can sometimes make you feel like lead. You just ate a brick of lead. All natural ingredients. Sometimes I use it as a lunch replacement. It's that good. And about a day later, I got a note back from the guy, Mike, who's the owner, and he's like, "Hey, I know your mom's husband. Jim buys from us all the time, and I think your mom has one of our bars on her nightstand at our bedside table." And it's true, she does. So doesn't this fall into the surprise and delight category when an owner actually takes the time to figure out how you found them and then wants to know
how much are the bars?
They're about if you order them in bulk, they're like $2.25 a piece, which is pretty common for a protein bar, I think, right?
Did you pitch them for business?
No, this just fell into my radar with the surprise and delight thing, but I just ordered a bunch. They're arriving soon, and I think you might like them, actually. Do you like
next time you talk to him, see if he needs any help. Spread the gospel.
Maybe I'll send him this clip. Why don't I do that? But so that's the key, though, right? Surprise and delight. And you might not have used that terminology back at Subaru and many of our other business stuff. It's always, I think, never a bad thing to have your customer be proud of the fact that they're investing their emotional energy into your brand, because they can turn around and say to someone, look at how I get treated. Look at this. Han Solo's bringing my bag of bricks to me.
Yeah, no, I think it's and it took nothing to answer. You could just simply answer that we're sorry about that.
Sorry about the bag. Here's a new one.
Here's the bag. Yeah, here's a new one. But it took thought, and it didn't cost anything to take thought.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I think that was smart. So it was a good find. Hey, we want to thank you for joining us today, and every time that you tune in to listen to us. Be sure to find us over at focusgroupradio.com. And you can find all of our media is housed there, including our podcast, which is TFG Unbuttoned. Thanks to our friends at Deep Discount. It's now a great time. You still have time to shop and get some items to replenish your library and or give to that person on your holiday list. Head over to focusgroupradio.com and click on the Deep Discount logo. This week, I picked the I Love Lucy colorized versions of some of the classic episodes. John picked Paddle to the Sea. And the new release this week is Venom, Let There Be Carnage. We hope you all have a great week, and we will see you next week when it's, if you can believe it or not, it's already Christmas upon us, right, John? I know. I know, bah humbug. Right? Did you watch the Pee Wee Herman special yet?
That's this weekend. That gets popped in this weekend. Yeah.
All right. Everyone have a great week. See you next week.
It's The Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.
That was a stunning focus group.